We're ready to start. Is everybody ready for my board? Mr. Dickover? I got so many pictures here, I can't find everybody. Where?
How are you?
Oh, there. Mr. Dickover erased himself. He took away the video. All right. Welcome to the Woodbury Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Please rise for a pledge to the flag, even if you have no flag. We'll do a pledge.
We'll face Joe DiVenuto's flag.
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the
flag
of the United
States
of
of America
and to the
republic for
which
which it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
and
and justice for all.
Thank you. This is the Woodbury Board of Appeals meeting. I'd like to introduce our board and let's see, I don't know what order you have your little photos in on Zoom here. So I'll introduce, we have Mr. Kevin Abrams. We have Mr. Joseph DiVenuto, Mr. Andrew Zumas, Mr. Craig Brady, and myself, Karen Ungerer. Our counsel, our attorney is Mr. Robert Dickover. Our recording secretary is Ms. Jessica McLennan. And our wonderful tech person is Mayor Timothy Egan. This zoning board meets the second Wednesday of every month. Our next meeting will be in January 13th, 2021. Hopefully we'll see a better year than we've had this year. We're going to go to the agenda now. We have no executive session. Did everyone on the board read the minutes from November 10th?
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to accept those minutes as written?
I'll make that motion.
That was Kevin. I have a second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Any discussion? Okay, do I have how do you vote, Kevin?
Aye.
Joe, how do you vote?
I abstain. I wasn't at the meeting.
Okay, Andrew?
Aye.
Craig?
Aye.
And I vote aye. You got that, Jess?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. We have no new business, no action on decisions, so we're going to go right to the public hearings. Our first public hearing is for McGinley. This is a public hearing for an area variance to permit the installation of an in-ground pool in a side yard, whereas pursuant to section 310-25A, a swimming pool shall only be permitted in a rear yard. Said property is located in the R-quarter-acre zoning district at 14 Smith Clove Road in Central Valley, is known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps as section 230, block 7, lot 3. Is the applicant present?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm looking to see where you are. There's so many pictures on my screen. Okay, so yours says iPhone. Is that you, Mr. McGinley?
No, it says McGinley.
Where am I? Oh, McGinley. I see Mr. McGinley. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
So what you want to do is you want to put your swimming pool, an in-ground swimming pool in your side yard. You sent us a map with the location of the pool. Mike, I looked at your front yard. Obviously, there's no way you could put a pool in your front yard.
No.
It's quite steep.
Yeah.
The map that you gave us is from 1989, and there's a property boundary line by your garage. Is that property beyond the garage? Is that your garage that's on the property?
Yes, the garage indicated on the map is my garage.
So is that property behind the property line? Is that your property?
Which property on there are you
I'm
referring
looking at the
to?
map that you gave us with the where you put the pool, with
Right.
the diagram of the pool, and then that you have the house with the drive, and then you have the garage and another smaller outbuilding behind the garage.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a line there that says it's a boundary line. So
Right.
is that your property there?
No, that's not. It's the neighbors.
So your garage is on the neighbor's property?
No, Are you referring to the old parcel division line?
Well, is that what that is, an old parcel division line? Because it just says, you know, parcel division. I don't know what this, it's, the map's from 1989, so I don't know how accurate that is.
No, this was verified. I had this verified a couple years after I bought the house. So the garage, if you look at the if you follow the drive in, the line above the drive on the picture is my property line, and then you see the garage, and then there's a line that goes parallel to the garage up towards the upper left-hand corner of the paper. That's my property line also. So I own everything kind of to the bottom of that paper within the boundaries of the property lines outlined. So.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Okay, so that somewhat rectangular section is not your property.
Towards the top of the paper?
Yeah.
No, no,
Okay.
the neighbors, yeah.
All right. Is there,
Isn't there
Madam
something
Chair?
there with a right of way, or isn't there like some old easement or something that goes back? Does that affect your property, or am I at the wrong property?
I have a right of way.
Down to Valley Avenue.
That may be Valley Avenue. I have a right of way through the church
which parking?
property.
Right. But I really thought at one time that went right on through to Valley Avenue, but
It goes to Peroni Lane, the front of the property.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's why you can't put the pool in the back, because of this. I think that those marks are like an old right away.
Well, it's so steep that you
easement.
couldn't put it anyway.
Yeah, there's no space behind the house. I would have to pull my deed to see if there's a right of way behind the house that I'm not aware of. The only right of way that I know, well, there's two technically. One is from my property line out to Smith Clove on the church property.
Right.
And then there's another one to the, technically that would be the east, off of Valley, that is a right of way for the neighbor, because that's technically their driveway into the rear part of my house, like the rear part of the property. But that is the neighbor's driveway, that little like stretch of land there. But the right of way, I think, ends where that little stretch of land ends.
Okay.
As far as I am aware from what I recall in the deed, but I would have to, again, pull my deed and verify that. But the other issue with the rear of my property is that it's too steep to put a pool in.
No, the spot you came up with seemed to work very well.
Yeah, I think that it overall is the most aesthetically pleasing and easiest to kind of access from the house, and works with kind of the landscape and the elevation change that I have to deal with.
It's going to be right up against the church parking lot, though.
It's good, 20 feet.
Is there a reason you couldn't, in other words, you have the pool somewhat perpendicular to the house? If you rotated it and made it more parallel to the house, is there a reason that you didn't do that?
Yeah, I have some old growth trees towards Peroni Lane, and I don't want to disrupt the root system. Those trees have been here since the house was built. I've seen old postcards and whatnot on the house, and they're in those pictures. So
I know you mentioned that the existing trees would do a lot of blocking of the pool, but the bottom of those trees is fairly bare. You know, you could see, in other words, you could see right through those trees. Are you planning to put any more landscaping there? From the church end, in other words?
Oh, yeah. And then there will be, I'm going to do some additional landscaping between the church lot and my property to block the view some more.
Okay, and you understand you'll need a fence around that pool also?
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's approved.
Yes, I understand.
And what is the plan for a fence? Are you going to run it right up against the edge of that pool? Or when I drove back there's a tree line between the parking lot and your property. what do you envision your fence line looking?
So I'll probably have a dual fence. I'll have a fence around the pool, and then I want to put a fence near the property line and then landscape the area between it.
Are those trees from the church parking lot, between the church parking lot and your property, are they on your property or the church parking lot property?
They're just on the church's property.
So your property line is on the other side of on your side of the trees?
Correct.
Okay. Anyone from the board have any other?
At the shortest distance between the pool and the property line, it's going to be 20 feet to the property line of the church?
Yes, that's correct. That distance is almost 80 feet. Or thereabouts.
Did you have anything else, Andrew?
I'm just, there's a school there. There's traffic there. It is a church, a daycare. It's not feasible to look at putting this in the backyard to kind of, the way I saw it, it seemed like it was very close to like the final parking spot of the church parking lot back there. There's no alternative where you could look at something between the garage and your house, or maybe something, maybe not as big.
No, because I'd like to have a deep end. I could potentially move it closer to the house by a few feet. But in terms of access and, like I said, just the aesthetic appearance, there's not really any other feasible option. I'm happy to have you out and mark it out for you and show you exactly where, so that you can kind of get a better sense of what I'm looking at. But I took a long time to measure in place and make sure that I was a good distance from that church parking lot. And so what I envision is having the tree line, which is on the church lot, and then a fence on my side, and then subsequent landscaping between the fence and the pool fence. And then I also want to probably pull the fence up past the driveway to provide a little bit more of a barrier. And then just because of the kids. And then at some point in time down the road, I want to pull the actual driveway up off of Perone, but that's a project for the future. So, but thinking long term, that's kind of where I'm heading. So.
And rotating that pool 90 degrees, the roots that you're talking about are located in front of that pool. Can you rotate it? My only concern is it's a side yard, right? So you're only going to be able to put up a 4-foot fence. There's other things obviously that you can do about that, but and with the church parking lot there, it just, to me, it seems a little bit close.
I hear what you're saying. Rotating it at this juncture is not an option because of the way the access to the garage is. I still need to have access to the garage at some point. So if I rotate the pool, I would be blocking that access. And rotating it and moving it further towards Perone would interfere with the root structures of the old growth trees that I don't want to lose.
And those roots don't go to the side where you're proposed right now. They end.
No, the longest branch for those trees ends towards Perone from the pool. It's not overhanging the pool, so I'm not interfering with that root system.
Yeah, I had some of the same concerns that Andrew has. I was wondering if it was rotated and you move the driveway over so that you could still access the garage. Would that be something that would be feasible?
I would never. I wouldn't be able to get a vehicle in and out of it though. just with the radius of the turn.
I know there's a fence, it looks like a, a low fence on the right side of the driveway. And behind that you have, I saw a tree and looked like a club, a kid's playhouse
Yeah.
type thing. I was wondering if the driveway, because if your property line is the line that's to the right of the driveway there, if you move that driveway over and then rotated the pool, you would still be able to navigate the turn by the garage. I mean, I'm looking at the map. I mean, I don't really know physically. You'd have to obviously take down that little fence, but.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying, and
Yeah.
I don't think that, because the corner of the pool would still have to stay where it is, like the corner towards the house in prone. And so if you rotated it, I would be up too close to that property line, I think, to be able to move the drive up and pull and get a vehicle in and out of the garage.
What if you rotated it at the depth where the longest side is right now, at that same depth? Don't push it back more. Leave it at that same depth and rotate it. Slide this down in this direction, just to give you double the space between the church parking lot and the edge of that pool.
So you're saying pivoted on the corner, you mean? Almost like a pivot?
Exactly. This is your property in front down here, correct?
Hold on, let me make your screen big. Right.
Let's call this the southwest corner. What if you just pivoted it right on that corner right there, and just brought the whole thing down that way?
So let me mark this here. I can. So
because you're telling me that it's 18 feet from the edge of your house to the edge of this pool as proposed, correct?
Right. So go ahead.
And you want to maintain that distance?
Ideally, I mean, I think that's a decent distance to give me some room to walk off the porch and, have a patio space or whatnot in terms of, final landscaping. I have an architect that I'm working with that's going to draw up some plans for me based on, where the pool is placed. So
in this picture, where you're proposing the pool to be is right here, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So from the edge of that porch to the edge of the pool, 18 feet, and your plan is to further landscape that distance between the house and the pool?
Yeah. So I'll mark a couple of things on my map here and show you. So my concern with rotating it, I don't know if you can see this.
I can see it.
Those two dots are the trees that I put on there. So if I rotate it, I would be interfering with those trees. If I rotated it the other way towards the garage, I don't think I'd have enough space between the tree root system and up here to be able to swing the driveway up towards this marking here and be able to make that turn into the garage with a vehicle. I would like to be able to put a car in the garage still. I don't currently have one in there, but that's also part of my kind of landscaping plans going forward, is to make that more accessible. Like I said, I'd be happy to stake out some things and, walk you through it so you can physically see where I'm looking. I can move it a little closer to the house to give me a little bit more space between the church line and the and the pool edge. I think with the two fence and the landscaping between the two fences there, I understand. I mean, I have 3 kids of my own, so I get it. You don't want the kids wandering over. You know, in 7.5 years that I've lived here, the kids from the school and the daycare center don't tend to really wander up towards the house. So, I mean, that being said, it's always a possibility, and I don't obviously ever want that to happen. So,
Anyone else from the board have any questions?
I had the same question that Karen did, Madam Chairperson, about that right-of-way situation. When we were growing up, we used to use that to go from what was then the elementary school up on Route 32 to cut through and then go up to walk home on Estrada Road. It seemed like a road. Nobody ever said we couldn't do it, sort of thing, but I don't know particularly what it actually was, but there was definitely a link through there to Valley Avenue. Whether it was just the old way they had the driveways running or whatever, I have no idea. I would like a little clarification on that if possible.
I have my deed upstairs. I mean, I could go and look and try and pull it up. If you guys want to wait, I don't know what else you guys have on the agenda, but
Joe, are you talking about a right-of-way from the church parking lot to Valley Avenue that used to?
Yes, it used to run straight through. Kevin, that's your memory too?
So how,
Yeah, I definitely remember that.
and how would that affect the pool?
Well, I was using it as a fact that he can't put the pool behind the house at all because of this old right away, which means the only place he really has is where he's got it placed.
Well, definitely not at the front. I mean, I didn't pull into the property itself. I just looked through the trees. I went several times, and I went down to Peroni Lane and to see what the front of the property looked like, and it was very, very, very steep. So there's no way, and lots of trees. So there's no way that a pool would go there. And I didn't know about the property where the garage is because I couldn't tell, you know, there was a house here and a house that, you know, I didn't know where the property lines were because there really were no delineating fences or tree lines. You know, I understand. I mean, I have the same concerns as Andrew with the, you know, there's a school, a church, daycare, whatever. But, you know, moving it 2 feet is not going to be a big difference
It's not
for
gonna
that.
do
I
anything.
mean, in
It's
my
not gonna
mind.
change anything.
What was that?
It's not moving it 2 feet isn't gonna.
Right. It you know, in other words, the location is basically the only location that he has, other than making the pool smaller in size, you know, in length. I don't know. Does anybody have any other comments before we open this up to the public? No?
So I guess the one thing that I would say with the length of the pool is, like I said, you know, I'd like to have a deep end. I grew up with a pool with a deep end. My kids have been down on my parents' house, and they love the diving board and that aspect of it. And so, unfortunately, shrinking the pool size eliminates that component of the pool that I really would like to have. So
Karen, this is Craig. The variance is essentially for swimming pool and side yard, correct?
Correct.
So from what has been submitted, no other variance is required. There's no side yard setback issue. There's the 20 feet meets the requirements, right?
I mean, yes.
Okay. I'm just checking on that because I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Anything you want to weigh in on anything, Mr. Dickover?
Just if you're going to move to the public hearing portion of this, let's just get a confirmation for the record that publication was made and the mailings were made. And then when you do open it, remember to do a roll call vote to open the public hearing.
We need a roll call vote to open the public hearing. Okay. Well, I know that the notices were sent out. Everything was mailed properly, notices in the newspaper, et cetera. Is that what you're talking about, Mr. Dickover?
Yes.
Okay. Before I ask for a motion for the public hearing, does anybody have anything else? Do I have a motion to open the public hearing? To
I'll
open
make that motion.
the public hearing to the public?
I'll make the motion to open the hearing to the public.
And
Second.
Kevin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
Greg?
Aye.
And aye. All right. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak to this application? And if there is, and for anyone who wishes to speak during public hearing, please identify yourself and spell your name for the record. Anyone here? Mr. Slaughter?
Yeah, hi. I don't have anything to say on this application, but I did want to let you know that I'm receiving a text from someone trying to get in, and they're just receiving a message, "We'll be with you in a moment." I don't know if you're using the waiting room feature or not.
That would be Mr. Egan. Could you respond to that? Mr. Egan, are you there?
Yeah, I'll take care of it. Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, okay. Okay, is there someone, Mr. Zott, are you saying there's someone who wishes to speak to this application?
No, she was, I think, looking to get in for the next hearing.
Oh,
She's-
okay.
She's in now.
Okay. Is there anyone who's in who wishes to speak to this application? So no one, for the record, no one has offered to speak to this application. Does the board have?
Karen, sorry to interrupt you. For the record, I'm monitoring the chat feature in the Zoom website. There's no one that's entered there. And I'm also monitoring the village's Facebook page, and there's no entries there for the chat either.
All righty, thank you. If the board has no further concerns, do we wish to close this public hearing, or do we have a motion for that, or did you want to?
So a 239 was submitted for this, correct?
Yes, on November 30th.
And
No
so
responses of this
there
time.
has been no response to this point. So can we, or should we close the public hearing at this point, Mr. Dickover?
The answer to that question would be no. The county department has 30 days from the date of submission to weigh in. And until that time, my suggestion is that the public hearing be held open to see if they have any comments which the public or the board might want to address.
So I'll make the motion to carry over the public hearing to the January meeting of the ZBA.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Before you vote, Madam Chair, sorry to interrupt you. Because of the uncertainty of weather, because of the uncertainty of the COVID pandemic, my suggestion for the motion would be that the matter be carried over to the next meeting of the board, which is currently scheduled for the date just mentioned, but it might be otherwise, and that way our record's clear that the matter will be heard at the next meeting of the board.
Okay. Do we need to?
I'll amend the motion as stated.
And Kevin, you want to second that? The way?
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor of carrying the hearing over to the next meeting that we have, which hopefully will be in January? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Do I need to do it individually, Mr. Dickover?
I think you had a visual signal from everybody. I think they
Yeah.
all put their hands up. So I think
It's unanimous. I vote yes also. Okay, got that, Jess? All righty. So, Mr. McGinley, what we'll do is we will meet again at our next meeting, which hopefully will be in January. By then, we will have what we need back from the county to make sure that they have no concerns. And people will still have an opportunity to speak to this application, and we may be able to close the public hearing and make a decision at that time.
But Karen?
Yes, Kevin?
Now, was Mr. McGinley going to put a couple stakes up? In
If you
case
guys, if you guys
people
would
wanted
like,
to go back?
Oh, you mean to walk through the property?
No, I think Andrew really wanted to go see actually where it's at. I think Mr. McGinley said he was going to put up a couple stakes.
Madam Chair, I don't know if that's allowed, but if Mr. McGinley would like to put a couple stakes out where the pool proposed is going to be, so we can actually get a visual depth of the setback from the property line and how that's going to look, I would certainly go and take a look at that again.
yeah, I can absolutely do that. I can put some, I currently park my car where the pool edge is closest to the house. So I think the question is more how far between the church lot and the
Correct.
pool edge is. So I'll put 2 stakes out and mark them in the yard where the pool edge would be. And you guys can come by and look. I believe you have on the application access to my cell number. So you feel free to call if you want. If the car is in the driveway, I'm home, so you can knock on the door. So
We appreciate that, Mr. McGinley. Thank
yeah,
you.
All right,
absolutely.
thanks, Mr. McGinley.
No, thank you guys.
All righty. Anything else, Mr. Dickover, before we say goodnight to Mr. McGinley?
No, I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you okay if I leave?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thank you guys.
The evening is
Can I go
yours.
with you? No.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good night.
All righty. See you next month.
Staying away, okay.
Okay. All right, we have the next public hearing, which is for Falkowitz. This is a public hearing for an area variance per denial of building permit to permit a proposed garage addition to an existing single-family dwelling located in the active adult section of Woodbury Junction, subdivision, in which proposed addition will leave a lot coverage of 36.8%, 4,204 square feet, whereas pursuant to section 310-36D, number 1B6, a maximum lot coverage of 35%, 4,000 square feet, is required. Said property is located in the R1A Senior Housing Zoning District at 33 Staten Fairway in Highland Mills and is known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps as section 254, block 2, lot 82. Is the applicant present?
Yes,
Would you identify yourself and spell your name for the record, please?
sure. My name is David Niemotko, Niemotko. We're the architectural site planning company that's prepared the plans and the application for your review this evening.
Okay, now you are representing the applicant, Mr. Falkowitz.
Yes.
Now the owner is Staten Estates LLC. What is the relationship between Staten Estates and Mr. Falkowitz? Do you know?
Actually, I don't know. I would imagine he's a part of the LLC.
Mr. Dickover, can we proceed knowing that the applicant and the owner are two different entities? You're muted, Mr. Dickover, you're muted. Oh,
You'll
there you
need
are.
some sort of an endorsement or proxy from the property owner giving the applicant permission to make this application. I don't know that that was in the materials. David, did you submit an owner's endorsement or owner's affidavit?
I'm almost sure we did, because we had to also get the homeowners association to
That I
approve.
saw, yeah, I saw that.
And I can't look on my computer right now because I have your screen on, but I'm very sure we submitted some type of endorsement that allowed us to get to this point. I mean, it's taken a good half a year to get to this point.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I believe you do have it. There's a statement of ownership and interest that came in as part of my file. With the name of the applicant being Moshe Falkowitz, the property owner being Staten Estates. The applicant's signature appears to be at the bottom of that, as well as the owner's signature.
I do see that, yes, that's on the statement of ownership and interest page, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is that adequate, Mr. Dickover?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, all right, that's all I needed to know. Thank you. So is this a house that's currently occupied? I saw that there were construction vehicles out there when I paid a visit to the site.
Yeah, there's work going, there was work going on in the house. An interior renovation that had to do with an enlarged kitchen and a new eating area and some other minor renovations.
So the house is occupied currently? It's somebody lives there?
You know what, I can't say for sure. Only because I'm not sure if the renovation is complete. If so, I mean, I would imagine they're occupying the house.
It says here, where did I see
But if
it?
you're asking if the Falkowitzes occupy the house, yes, they would be.
Oh, so it's the Falkowitz plans to live there?
Yes,
Okay. And they are senior citizens?
yes,
Or they meet the senior citizen requirements for the development?
yes,
Okay.
I don't meet that yet.
And so they want a one-car garage so that they have access, direct access to the home, so they don't have to walk outside in inclement weather. Is that correct?
correct. On the C1 plan that we submitted for everyone's review, you could see the proposed addition. It's 14.5 feet by 25.5 feet, and it aligns with the existing exterior walls of the main house.
And you already have HOA approval contingent on zoning board approval,
Correct.
because they will approve basically the exterior and, so that it blends in with the surrounding area. So all that we have to look at is the lot coverage area amount.
Correct, which is, as you, Madam Chairperson, as you mentioned, is 1.8% variance, which equals about 215 square feet.
Okay. I have actually 1.9, but that's that's nitpicking. Does anyone from the board have any questions, concerns?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
why can't we just shrink the width of this garage by a foot and get us into compliance?
Would it be wide enough for a one-car?
At 13.5 feet, I mean, 13.5 feet should be wide enough.
Well, no, when you subtract this, the exterior walls, the thickness of the exterior walls, and perhaps the foundation wall that would penetrate or come past the ground and above grade, it really decreases the interior usable space of the garage, of any garage for that matter.
But you could still get a car into a 13.5 foot wide garage.
Well,
Well, you wouldn't have the door 13.5 feet
you
wide,
won't be,
though. The
you
door
won't
would
be
be
able to open
smaller.
the doors comfortably.
I mean, I don't know.
A garage door is usually 8 foot wide. That leaves 3 feet,
5.
less than 3 feet, 2.5 feet on each side. Inside dimension, not outside. So on the inside dimension, I mean, it's getting tight.
So basically, you're saying that it really wouldn't be feasible to shrink the size of the garage because the opening would be possibly too tight for a vehicle to fit in?
With the normal functions of getting in and out of the car, absolutely.
Madam Chair, the difference on each side of the garage equates to 6 inches. Is that, am I not seeing this correctly?
No, I see what you're saying. I don't, I'm not an expert on garages, that's for sure. And, I know there's different size vehicles. There's little Hondas that are tiny, and then there's the big SUVs with big side view mirrors that hang, I don't know what the width of a large vehicle is, so I don't know.
And you do, they are seniors, which means they may not get in and out of a car the way we do.
What, you're not a
Well,
senior?
for now, I mean, I'm sure I'll be there too, but
I'll be joining you, Kevin.
I mean, if they need walkers or a wheelchair or I mean, I don't think they're asking for a lot.
It's less than 2% of the lot coverage, and it
Yeah,
meets all
to
the
be
side
honest with you,
setbacks, and, it meets all the other setbacks.
Yes, all the other bulk requirements are satisfied
Yeah.
according to the zoning code.
Just out of curiosity, where the garage is going and where it would enter into the house, is that like a sunroom or something?
No, that's the main portion of the house. It would be entering the kitchen dining area.
Oh, because it's got a lot of windows, and I thought maybe it was like a sun porch or something.
No.
Okay, I was
But
just curious.
I could, sure, no, I can understand. But also, Andrew, I'm sorry, the variance area is 215 square feet. So
Right,
we would have to eliminate 215 divided by 25 is 8. We'd have to eliminate 8 feet of the garage, not 1 foot.
If we go back 1 foot, you reduce that by 25 square feet, is that correct?
Correct.
And doesn't that get us compliant?
No, we're in variance of 215 square feet, not 25.
215, okay.
Does that answer your question, Andrew? Okay. Anyone else from the board have any questions, concerns? We do have a 239, once again, that was sent in on November 30th.
On a side note, why was it 239 submitted for this
I
one?
have I keep asking that question, Craig.
Okay, good. Never mind. You answered it. You don't know.
I don't know
Thank
what
you.
to tell you.
Thank you.
Did you sign it, Karen?
What was that?
Didn't you sign it?
No, they sign it with their initials. They send it in.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, you got to remember, Thunderberg Road is a county road.
Yeah, but this is state.
This is nowhere within 200 feet of the county
Right,
road.
no, it's nowhere
I
near.
know. I'm only. You know me with these 239s.
I know.
Really? I didn't know that.
Do I have a motion to open this up to the public?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I second Kevin's motion.
All right. By show of hands, all in favor?
I.
Aye.
Okay, it was unanimous, Jess. All right, is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak to this application? And if so, please identify yourself and spell your name. Anyone? No? Anybody? Mr.
Hi, my name is Miriam Riba. I'm a neighbor. And I just want to let you know that I approve the garage addition for the family. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Miriam.
Anyone else?
Hi, Karen, this is Joe.
Slaughter?
Blow.
Yeah,
I'd just like to point out a few things.
sure.
This home, as you stated, is in the senior overlay district. Village code dictates the number of people that can occupy such a home.
Correct.
And it is one of the larger homes in the senior overlay district. In addition to the 2,500 plus square feet that the home was built as, there's an additional 867 square foot finished basement. And there was a 550 foot 2-car garage that has since been converted. So this would be a situation that seems to be of the applicant's own making. So I would ask you to consider those things when the board makes their decision.
Thank you, Mr. Slaughter. How long has this, how old is this house? When was it built?
2000, I'm being told 2010.
2010, so it's 10 years old. So Mr. Slaughter saying there was a garage that was converted?
Yes.
And is that the part that became the kitchen area, the kitchen
Yes.
dining area? Okay. Were the Falkowitzes living there at that time?
The house was under construction or renovation. When you mean living, were they, I can't say they were physically there during the construction, but to the best of my knowledge, it's their intent to live there.
Okay. So was it the state, I guess you don't know then who was the one who authorized the conversion of the garage to a kitchen dining area?
We could
Was it
go
the-
to Gary.
We did. We prepared the plans for that and submitted for a building permit.
And was it from Mr. Staten Estates LLC owned it and Mr. Falkowitz was the one who requested that, or?
I'm almost sure. It's been so long since we did the original project. I got to be honest with the board. I don't remember what we filled out on the permit, but my gut feeling, I'll go out on a limb and say yes.
Okay.
And you got a CO for that and everything? Or you're in process?
I'm not sure where the construction. I'm not sure of the progress of the construction.
Well, I saw a whole load of tile outside, so I'm assuming it's not complete.
Then it's probably not complete.
All right, well, if Gary issued a permit, then
Yeah. I mean, Gary's been, I'm sure the building inspectors, the department's been inspecting the project. And again, my hesitancy to say something's only because I just have not been up to date with the project. After the architectural plans were submitted and a permit was issued and the construction started, and then time had gone on, then we were asked to submit this. You realize the evolution that this submission experienced because of trying to get the HOA approval and things of that nature. Just lost track of the construction of the project. That's
and
That's
the
all.
HOA's approved this.
The HOA has approved it contingent on the ZBA giving approval.
correct.
They get to approve, they can only approve the exterior, the aesthetics of it, so it matches the neighborhood.
Which I can tell you, we'll be designing the garage. It will remain contextual with the neighborhood and aesthetically pleasing.
Anyone else from the board, from the public have anything to say to this? Anyone from the board have any questions or concerns? I would like to, I know that we need to, because there was a 239, I would like to know if, I don't know if the house has ever been occupied, if there's a certificate of occupancy for that kitchen dining area, when it was proposed to be enlarged. And we need to keep the public hearing open because the 239 was sent in. Does anybody have any concerns with that? That request, go ahead, Greg.
I'm not sure what you're asking, Karen.
I'm asking then, I would like to know when the original garage was converted to a kitchen dining area.
It
Gary
sounds
would
from,
have that as a permit.
well, it sounds like what the architect is saying is that it's in process. So, go ahead.
No, it was a recent, I would imagine the submission, the permit was issued within the last year,
Oh,
in the last 12 months.
okay.
Yeah, because there's boxes of tile, so evidently.
Yeah, well,
what the
I saw the construction
building is
truck there, but I didn't know what was going on.
So you want to, you're saying you're going to check with the building department to find out when that permit was issued,
Well, I just,
which is anecdotal information that you're interested in, but
right,
not
right. I
no
just
bearing on
yes,
anything.
that's right, right.
Okay.
So do I have a motion to carry this public hearing open to the next meeting that we have? Since we don't have a.
I'll make that
239?
motion.
Have a second?
I'll second Kevin's motion.
All in favor with a show of hands?
Aye.
And it's
Aye.
unanimous, aye. Mr. Dickover, anything you need to add before we move on?
Right. Just to confirm for the record that the publication and mailings were completed and the record is in the board's file.
Yes.
And I am monitoring the chat feature on the village's Facebook website. There are no comments germane with respect to this application, nor is there any chat comments on the Zoom website feature either from the public.
All right. So next month, if anyone wishes to speak to it, they can. And we'll proceed at the next meeting. All righty.
It was a pleasure seeing everyone.
All righty. Thank you very much.
Take care, David.
Thanks. Have a happy holiday.
Thank you. Have a great holiday season.
Yes, thank you.
I think might be next.
You again?
I believe so. I don't have a copy of the
I'm
agenda.
doing
but-
Kairos.
Our next public hearing is for Velasco DeVito. Public hearing for an area variance to permit the proposed construction of a 22 by 30 foot addition and a 10 by 15 foot sunroom, leaving a side yard of 10 feet. Whereas pursuant to section 310-6B and 310-7 district regulations, a 30-foot side yard is required. Said property is located in the R1A zoning district at 29 Pyros Avenue in Highland Mills. It is known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps as section 235, block 2, lot 1. Is the applicant present?
Yes,
Please, where it says iPhone, would you identify yourself, please? The applicant? The listed applicant is Mrs. Velasco DeVito. Is that, are you present?
Yes,
don't-
I am.
it's blocked us out. We
Yeah,
can't
for
see.
some reason we can't get, the video won't let us pick up.
Oh, okay. Okay, so,
There you go.
oh, okay.
Hello.
All right, so I assume you are Mr. and Mrs. DeVito, Velasco DeVito?
Yes.
All righty. So the first thing I want to clear up is the application states you want to put a 22 by 30 foot addition, but your application that you wrote says 22 by 35. Which is it?
22 by 35.
By 35. Is that a problem?
David? David?
So I'm working along with the DeVitos on the project. It's my understanding that the addition's 22 by 30, two-story addition with a 10 by 15 sunroom on the back.
Correct. Sorry, correct.
Okay.
Okay, because their environmental form says 22 by 35. I just want to clear that up. So it's 22 by 30.
22 by 30.
Okay, and a sunroom. And you want this as an additional two-story. Is this going to be a mother-daughter type thing, parents? In other words, they have their own little apartment and you have the rest of the house?
Yes, they're not going to have, there's not going to be a stove or anything down there. My wife's parents are older and we're selling the house up on Skyline. So my wife needs to take care of both our parents. So that's why we're doing this.
So it's just going to be an extra room for them?
Correct.
So I guess my
You'll
next,
have a room.
my next question is, why do you need 2 stories for 1 room?
To make it so the house looks uniform, so it doesn't look off.
And the sunroom would go on the, and you plan to put a sunroom on the back?
Correct.
Is there any reason you can't put this addition in the rear so you wouldn't need a side yard?
We have a septic in the back of the house.
How close is it to the house, do you know?
It's about 15 feet off the back of the house, so there'd be no
Okay, yeah, that would be,
possible. Yeah.
the left side of the house by the driveway, was that once a garage?
No, never.
No, I was just curious because the driveway goes, but there's no garage there, and I didn't know if you converted a garage to something or,
There was never a garage there at the end of the driveway.
no, okay. Or under on the right, on the left side of the house, there was never a garage.
On the left side of the house? No, because that's
In other words,
just
yeah,
all.
So what would you plan to put on the second? Because you didn't submit any plans for what you plan to put.
Right, we were told not to do that yet. Basically, the room upstairs would be attached to our existing house. It'll be one large room. It's one open room, like a living room.
Okay, and the bottom floor, bottom part would be where the parents would be?
Yeah, bedroom, a TV room. Somebody could put a little table. You know, they're going from a 2,600 square foot house up on Skyline to, you know, a smaller apartment. So we're just trying to make it comfortable for them.
Still feel like they have their freedom.
Right, so they still feel like they have their freedom. You know, at 88 years old, it's hard for them to be alone right now and take care of the house.
Anyone from the board have any questions? Nobody? Do I have a motion to open this up to the public?
I'll make that motion, Madam Chairperson.
Okay, do I have a second to open it up to the public?
I'll second it.
All in favor with the show of hands?
Aye.
Aye. Kevin, how about you?
I said aye.
Okay, I didn't see you. Sorry. Okay, before I ask for the people to speak, I'd like to enter into the record. We have two letters. The first one is from William and Catherine Mulvihill. I hope I said that right. I'm not going to read the entire letter, but the letter is against the granting of the variances for the following reasons. Their property is one lot away from the applicant's property. It said the additions will directly face their property. It would be only 10 foot away. It would be a significantly smaller side yard. And they feel that this would be overbuilding of the side yard of the property. They feel that this would alter the character and charm of the neighborhood. That one of the reasons that they moved to this area was for the rural character of the neighborhood. And by having the house, the addition so close to the property line, it would have a negative impact on the character of the neighborhood. And they also feel that it would set a precedent that would allow other property owners to possibly build and have large homes that would be out of character for the neighborhood and result in higher occupancy and change the character of the neighborhood. The second letter is from Ronald and Marianne Walls, who live directly next to the applicant's property. They feel that the variance is significant, 67%, should be denied. They feel that this would negatively affect their quality of life. The addition would diminish the open space that is next to their home. That the other homes in the neighborhood have a lot of open space between them, and this would not fit in. It would affect, he feels that they feel it would possibly affect their property value and hamper their ability to sell in the future. They wanted to know that if they could put the addition in the back of the property, since the DeVitos had filled in their backyard. Let's see, they submitted 11 photos of the property between their home and the DeVitos' home. And they said it's unmaintained property, which includes weeds, a construction block retaining wall, and a falling down stockade fence. And they wish that the application for the variance be denied. So I'd like to enter those two letters into the record. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak to this application?
I'm a neighbor across the street.
Okay, would you identify yourself?
Judith Blatt.
Okay, and you're across the street?
I'm directly across the street from them, and I do not oppose this.
You do not oppose it?
No, I don't.
Okay, All righty. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Ronald Walls, next door neighbor,
Okay,
and I do oppose it. I mean, the zoning regulations are in place for a reason to protect property. And allowing this addition to the property will have an adverse effect on the well-being of my wife and myself. And also, the DeVitos had a two-car garage on the left side where their driveway is and just recently closed it off.
Never a two-car garage.
It's like it should be denied.
Never a two-car garage.
Never a two-car garage.
any, anything else?
No, that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Walls. Anyone else wish to speak to this application?
Yeah, hi, this is Bill Mulvihill. I live at 21 Tyros. I did write a letter, and I just want to re-emphasize the fact that I think granting of the variance would just set a very dangerous precedent in the neighborhood. It would allow for much larger properties in the neighborhood, which would have much higher occupancies, and would just really affect the charm, basically, in the rural characteristics of the neighborhood. Moved here almost 30 years ago for that rural look to the neighborhood, and you know, we all know what overbuilding looks like. You don't have to drive very far from Tyrus Avenue to know what that looks like. And you know, we think that the best way to prevent any overbuilding is just to enforce the existing zoning regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mulvihill. Anyone else wish to speak to this application?
Yeah, hi. My name is Susan Bouashri, and I am a next door neighbor. I just had a question, how high the addition will be in relation to the house that exists already?
Said two-story. Is that going to be with the same roof level that you have now, Mr. DeVito?
Yes,
So it would be from the ground to the top of the roof that exists now.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Anyone else from the public?
Nobody's talking?
No one else? Okay, if anyone from the board have any questions?
Madam Chair, on this schematic that we have, if you could please clarify, does it show, Mr. Nimarco, does that show 30 feet from the back of the house to the 750-gallon septic tank? This is the only document that I have. Is that what we're referencing?
That's the only document we have, the only plan.
And am I reading this correctly? From the back of the house, it says 4x6 concrete slab. It says a 1 foot overhang, and then it shows, I believe that says 30 feet plus or minus to a 750-gallon septic tank.
Correct.
So is the septic tank 30 feet behind the house?
No. It's from the back part of the house to the septic tank is about 15 feet away, because there was a deck that, before we purchased the house, that was a deck that was created into a family room. So from that point of the deck to the septic is 15 feet away, which is now a family room.
So is this not the most accurate version?
It is from the corner of, I can't see that from here. Thank you. So from that tank, so where that sunroom is there, to the right, the addition, if it comes over about another 30 feet, because there was a deck the whole length of the house. So no, that's not an accurate survey. Yeah, that's the only one we had. When we did the addition, that's the only one we used.
So are you saying that this showing this little bump out is now closed in? Would it be flush with the proposed back of the addition?
Correct. Yeah.
So your house is currently flush? This
Yes.
is all closed in back here?
Yes, and there was a permit for that as well.
Inside commercial property.
Andrew, the survey that we did it was created by Youngblood Associates, and that survey is dated 7/18/74.
Right.
So what do you need a sunroom for? In other words, you're having the bottom floor would be for the parents. The top floor would expand the room. You said for aesthetics. What's the sunroom for?
Sunroom is to keep her happy. My mother-in-law has one at her house now. Yeah, she doesn't want to move, but they need to move. And she wants to bring her sunroom with her, basically. I mean, it's not, if it can't be, it can't be, you know.
So you're saying that sunroom would be flush with the rear of the house because there's been an addition put on that back of the house?
I think it'd be a few feet past the addition of the house.
A few feet past it. When did you purchase this house?
2003.
2003.
So it's been, you've lived there, a few years.
I want to make sure, you know.
Anybody else have anything to say? What do you have to say, Mr. DeVito and Mr. and Mrs. DeVito, about the two-car garage that was enclosed recently?
There was a garage that when my wife purchased the house before we were married, it was a full store with a room downstairs, and that is on the deed of the house.
So there was no two-car garage?
It was never a two-car garage. Right.
Was it a one-car garage?
It was a one-car garage, which we closed up and made a regular doorway now.
Okay.
So it was never a two-car garage.
And when was that enclosed?
That was that room was when you bought the house. The one side was enclosed.
Oh, okay. So you didn't do that. It was already done.
I closed the left side, which was a one-car garage, for a regular man door. Got rid of the garage on the one side. The other side was never a garage.
Aaron, may you speak?
Anybody?
It's not.
Any other from the public wish to?
Karen, Ronald Walls, may I speak again?
Sure.
Okay, I'm sure there was a two-car garage there. Reopened it and closed it again. Right side had a garage door until just recently. I'm not sure, but I would probably think of living
When you
space.
say recently, what do you mean?
Within the last few months. Honestly, I've lived there 26 years. I know what I've seen two garage doors on that side of the house for the last, until just recently, from the right side, the left side, closed off, they reopened it, and then they closed it again. This has been in the last 3 or 4 months. So I know what I've seen. Two-car garage doors, I don't know what's behind them. The right side was definitely in and out, getting equipment jobs. As a contractor, get equipment stuff, get tools, in and out. I don't care. But definitely a two-car garage. I don't know if it turned into living space, but I would have to assume you would. What else would you close it off for? I'm sorry, Karen.
The right side of the garage was always living space as per the deed. If you look at the paperwork, and that one side was a fake garage. So if you look at the paperwork, when my wife purchased the house,
It was a bedroom downstairs.
it was a bedroom downstairs.
It had 2 closets, 2 windows. It was a bedroom. And I used it as my kids' playroom when they were little. Because that's the way it came. There was a fake garage door on the outside to keep in aesthetics. If you had the one-car garage at the time. And yes, there was a fake garage door. But it was not a garage. It was a playroom. And I could show pictures from the moment I moved in this house that it was a playroom.
Is there any reason that you couldn't, instead of building out to the left, you couldn't build up?
They can't go up and down.
Her parents can't go up and downstairs. That's why we're doing a one level on that one side for them. You know, originally we didn't want to add a second level to it, but my mother-in-law didn't want it to look like it was an apartment. So that's the only reason why we're adding a second level.
She wanted to keep the look of the house. She didn't want to just make it
So,
look like.
so
this.
the living space you have now, you need to use steps to get up to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad has to go backwards down the stairs. He can't see stairs.
I mean, this is to take care of her parents. She's an only child. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're not supposed to take care of your parents at 88 years old. We're not ripping any trees down. We're not, you know, I sit higher than my two neighbors next to me. I don't understand what's going to ruin the look of the neighborhood. My house is very well maintained. We have a landscaper come once a week. You know, the back of our property we go from Tyros to 105. Anything that needs to get done will get done. I mean, they want us to clean up the landscaping outside. No problem. I'll do what they want. You can drive by and see how clean our house is. Again, this is not, I mean, I could sell my house. We got multiple offers on my house. We don't want to leave the neighborhood. We got multiple offers. This is where my kids grew up. I don't want to leave the neighborhood. I mean, I'm doing this to help my in-laws. You know, we could sell this house, they're selling that house, and we can go get a house somewhere else. But my wife raised her kids here, and this is why we're doing it. And, you know, we need a place for my in-laws.
Without them feeling that they're helpless.
Yeah, you know, I do own a construction company. I bring a truck home when it snows because we do all commercial snow removal. I don't leave large equipment in my driveway. I don't make my house look, you know, disgusting to the neighbors. I'm sure the other neighbors could answer that as well.
Is there any way that bottom room where the garages, well, where a garage would be, could that be converted to a room for your parents?
But they'd never be able to come upstairs.
Yeah, they would never be able to come upstairs with just one room. That's why we're making a larger area, so they have a larger.
I thought that was ground level.
From where the room is now, where the old garage is, the one side is ground level. That's not enough room for them. Because if they had to come upstairs, they're not going to have a kitchen. If they want to, you know, they're going to have to try and walk upstairs. They can't do it. At 88 years old, my father-in-law's got to go down the stairs backwards. We're just trying to give them enough room, you know.
They feel like their life is over, that they still have freedom.
I mean, they're 88 years old, you know. It's not like if it was for my kids, it'd be a different story. I would sell my house and go and move, you know.
Aaron, as far as the same other thing, I understand the parents of the they understand what they're trying to do. I mean,
There's a lot of background. I can't hear you, Ronnie.
Yeah, I don't know where it's
I
coming.
understand what they're saying, but what about they have 3 children? Maybe the 2 of the children can move downstairs into the living space and mom and dad can move upstairs on a first level. Problem solved.
They don't want to do that, Ron. They want their own space.
I understand.
Thank
What
you for
I
putting
don't
it-
want the extension built next to my house. My wife doesn't. We wouldn't have moved here 26 years ago if that was built the way you're talking about. And I don't feel I should.
Okay.
But
Mr. Walls, Mr. Walls and
my-
Mr. DeVito. Mr. Walls, please direct all your comments to the board.
I'm sorry. Okay.
That's all right.
All right.
At 88 years old, they would still have to go up and down steps if they moved upstairs to the second floor. They can't go up and down the steps. That's the reason for putting the addition on.
And they're gonna live on the, excuse me, Karen, Ward, if they're gonna live on the second level, I thought they were gonna live on the lower level. What's the lower level for? Just to make it look nice?
I can't hear anything. There's a lot of background noise.
I don't know
Whoever has the TV on, please mute that TV.
I have
Whoever
no
has that
TV
TV
on here. There's no TV on this house.
There either.
That is TV, there's nothing.
Nothing here either.
Sorry. So much living space downstairs. I know they doesn't want to inconvenience the children, but if you really want to worry about them, let the children move downstairs. I would do that.
It's not going to happen. My in-laws would have to go up and down steps to get onto the second level. That's why we're putting an addition on the lower level for them. You keep referring to the upper level. They're 88 years old. They have to go down steps. They cannot go up and down steps anymore. They're 88 years old. That's why we're putting a ground level addition.
Okay. Anyone from the board, anyone else from the public have anything to offer?
Bill Mulvihill again. Again, I'm sympathetic to the grandparents, situation, to elderly parents. My big concern is the precedent that this variation will make, because houses get bought and sold every day in this neighborhood and every other neighborhood. And what's to prevent other people in the neighborhood from asking for a 70% variance on one side of their yard, 80% variance on the other side of the yard? So to me, it's nothing personal against that property as much as the precedent of allowing such an event to happen in the neighborhood. Because once you say yes once, you've established a precedent.
Thank you, Mr. Mulvihill. Anyone else from the public? Anyone from the board have any?
Clarification here.
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
Mr. DeVito.
Yes.
If you, I understand this correctly, maybe I'm just not getting it or something, but your in-laws will be living on the first floor, the ground level floor. I'm correct in that, understanding of that. And they will not be going upstairs to the second floor of this, because it is, being pitched as, at least that part of it, as 2 stories, yes?
Correct.
What's the second story going to be used for?
Just an open living space. Honestly, we didn't even want the second story, but my mother-in-law's insisting to make the house look uniform to do this. I mean, this is costing me more money to do this for them to make her comfortable. No, we don't need any more room in the house for my wife and my 3 kids. So, we weren't going to add the second level. Now that my mother-in-law, and my father-in-law have to move in with us so we can take care of them, my mother-in-law's wishes is to make it look uniform. So that
Doesn't look like it.
so it doesn't look like they're moving into an apartment. They're going from a beautiful house, a large house, down to, a smaller apartment. We're trying to give her, what she wants right now.
That's nice, but it's not personal. We all want stuff too.
Does that answer your question, Joe?
Yes, that's very good. Thank you, Mr. DeVito.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the board? I'm sure we have a 239, which is their property adjoins right off of it fronts 149, 105. So we're gonna have to wait for that 239. Do I have a motion to carry the public hearing? Oh, I do need to, right, Mr. Dickover, I need to say that everything was noticed properly. All the neighbors were notified, correct?
Right, and just let's notice for the record that there's no comments on the Facebook page, chat feature, nor any written comments on the chat feature for the Zoom website either.
Okay. Thank you. So do I have a motion to carry this?
I'll make that motion. We carry it over to the next meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It was unanimous, Jess. All right, we're gonna carry this over to next month. We have to wait. Your property, the rear yard is on 105, which is county road, so we have to wait from the county to make sure that there's no issues before we make our decisions.
Okay.
All righty, so we'll see you next month.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Hi. Would it be possible for me to add one comment? I just recollected something after being off. Is that an option?
Is it Mr. Dickover? Can he add something to his?
No, oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Dickover, Mr. McGinley's public hearing was carried over to the next meeting, and he just thought of something he'd like to add.
Right, and it probably should not be received at this point. Mr. McGinley, if you want to add a comment, I suggest you just put it to the board in writing.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. McGinley.
No problem.
All right, the next public hearing, I hope I'm saying this right, Fidelity Holdings. Public hearing for area variances to permit the proposed construction of a new single-family dwelling on an existing lot area of 10,191 with lot width of 75 feet, a proposed side yard of 20 feet, and both side yards of 40 feet with road frontage of 75 feet on a public road. Whereas pursuant to 310-43.1C, number 1, a minimum lot area of 15,000 square feet is required, and pursuant to 310-43.1D, a minimum of 100 foot of lot width is required. Pursuant to 310-43.1C5 and 310-7, a minimum side yard of 30 feet, 60 feet, both yards, is required. Pursuant to 310-12A2, a minimum frontage on a public road of 100 feet is required. Said property is located in the R1A zoning district at 5 Olympus Road in Highland Mills and is known on the Village of Woodbury tax maps as Section 209, Block 2, Lot 13.
That's a lot of variances.
It is a lot of variances. All right. Is the applicant present?
Yes, Gardner Barone, attorney with Bluestein, Shapiro, Rich, and Barone. Here for the applicant. Also online is Joe Fow and Vince Petrazak.
Do you need any spellings on that, Jess? Not yet?
And while we concede that
The second person, I'm sorry, Joe, what was his last name?
Joe Fow, PFAU.
Thank you.
You got
That's
what
it.
you
I'm
need,
good.
Jess? Okay. So you purchased this lot in somewhere 2006 time. You came before the zoning board in 2007 for relief from the lot width and the road frontage requirements. Those variances were denied for various reasons. I have that decision in front of me. You're now before us for the same variances plus 2 more. Now, this is for my board. We have 2 options here. We're basically rehearing the same variances that were requested in 2007. So if we decide, in order to rehear it, we would need to vote, have a unanimous decision to rehear, and then any favorable decision would need to be unanimous. Or we can forego the unanimous vote, rehear it with the risk that there could be an appeal from an aggrieved party, but the applicant would be apprised that the risk would be on them. I believe, though, that we would be paying for any court costs. I'm not sure how that works. So I need to know from the board how you wish to proceed. Do we wish to rehear this application, or do we wish to, with the vote of unanimous vote, or do we wish to forego that unanimous vote and just rehear it? Mr. Dickover, do you need to clarify anything for me?
No, I think you've stated it. I'd like to hear what the applicant or the representatives might want to say on the topic. See if I can clarify it, just to crystallize the issue, which is that they're applying for 2 variances, which appear to be the same variances applied for back in 2007, which were denied by this board. That being the case, the board would be rehearing those 2 variances, and to do so would require a unanimous vote of the board members present this evening to, in fact, rehear it, as well as a unanimous vote of the board to grant those 2 variances, should that be the decision of the board. Mr. Barone, that's been my position with respect to this matter. I'd like to hear what you have to say about it before the board members might comment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dickover. One of the relevant factors that's occurred since the board last had this property before it was the rezoning. And the rezoning is what's triggered the need for the additional variances. And I submit that that really makes this an entirely new application and a new matter. But as the chairperson pointed out at the beginning, what we would prefer to do is just proceed without a vote see how it goes. And if there's anybody who wants to challenge a determination, assuming that determination is in the applicant's favor, then of course the applicant would pick up the defense of such a challenge were an Article 78 proceeding filed. So we're willing to assume that risk and to take on that burden going forward if that should be necessary.
Mr. Dickover and Mr. Barone, somewhere in my notes, I have a note from Mr. Thomasberger that the zoning has not changed since the original application.
Right, I'd like to hear, if Mr. Barone is aware of the particular changes that he's referring to, I'd like to hear about that, building inspector's opinion being otherwise.
Yeah, I'm sorry, this is Joe Fowl with the applicant. There are definitely changes in the zoning. The original plan, there were no side yard variances required because at that time, the minimum side yards were 10 feet for one side yard and 20 feet for both side yards. And you can see that in the original application. Also, the lot area was back in that original application was a 10,000 square foot minimum, and that's why we did not require a variance for that as well. So those two items changed completely. And to my knowledge, I think that the road frontage was removed from the bulk requirements in the new zoning.
No.
So really the only thing that stayed the same was the lot width.
No, the road frontage.
Side yards were increased and the lot area was increased.
I believe the road
because
frontage was the same as in 2007. I know there were no side yard variances requested in 2007, but I'm looking at it from the point of view, the road frontage and the lot width would need a rehearing, or the board could decide not to rehear. That's up to, I'm asking my board what they want to do. So even if the side yards were new zoning code requirements and that was a change in the application, the old lot width and road frontage is the same, that would be a rehearing. So, if we granted one and not the other, you still would have a negative decision. So I don't know how you want to proceed.
If I may, Madam Chairperson, I would like to rehear it.
So you're saying you would like to rehear the application?
Yes, I would. I agree with you that the first two variances of the original 2007 decision are still the same. So they need to be go to a rehearing of the matter.
So are you saying we should vote whether we should rehear, or are you saying we should forego a vote?
I say we vote.
Who else on the board wants to?
Madam Chair, can you explain what happens if a vote is not unanimous in either direction?
If it's not unanimous, if we take a vote to rehear and the vote is not unanimous, we do not rehear the application. That's it. If we vote to rehear it, but the vote and we come up with the decision to grant the variances is not unanimous, it is a denial.
Let me just chime in here for a moment.
Sure.
The applicant still would have the right to have the two new variances heard. I don't know that it makes any sense to do that.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Proposing. But they still would have the right to have this board hear the request for the two new variances. And it may be that the applicant would want to submit a written statement with respect to this request and the issue for the board to consider. If you don't think you're going to get a unanimous vote to rehear the matter, or in fact a vote to not treat this as a rehearing, but to hear it as a new application, a totally new application. That's the other choice that the board has, of course, is to just hear the matter.
So would we need to take a vote on whether we wish to rehear it or treat it as a new application?
Honestly, Karen, I don't think there's nothing new with this application than there was in 2007.
Well, certainly the
It's asking
dimensions
for-
of the property haven't changed.
Well, yeah, they got two new variances, but the two old, the ones that are coming back again, why hash it out again? I mean, I just think it's too much. That's me personally.
Greg, what do you have to say?
My question was, what has changed from the submission? Is the actual submission the same? Is the lot, because the lot hasn't changed, to your point. Is the proposed building the same as was proposed in 2007? And the landscaping and those factors?
I don't know if the building is similar, but the setbacks are the same as in 2007 for the lot width and the frontage. What's changed is that they're saying in 2007, there were no requirements for the side yard setbacks, and there are now.
I find that hard to believe, Karen.
Well, we can research that.
Because
It's
Gary
not-
said it hasn't changed. That's who I'm going to go with.
Yeah, I have it somewhere here, but there's so many pages. I would have to hunt through it.
What I'm hearing is we need to nail down some of these details. And I'm also looking at that it looks like one of the lots in the area received a variance after ours was denied. And a house was constructed in or around 2012 on a non-conforming lot. So it looks like that's something that the applicant ought to look into as well, how that application was treated favorably and ours wasn't. I think that's the avenue that we need to pursue.
Each application is separate. There's different circumstances for each one. So, I
quick
don't know
question.
what the particulars of that one were. So
Quick
I
question.
couldn't address that right now.
This is Joe Fowl. Just a quick question. Is there any issue with the fact that when the original application was made, it was the town of Woodbury and now we are the village of Woodbury?
The 2007 is Village of Woodbury. The decision is for a variance from section 310-7, sections 310-12 of the Village of Woodbury zoning code.
Right.
And Mr. Thomas Berger said that it hasn't changed, but why there was no side yard requests, I don't know. I'd have to look into
The
that.
zoning change.
But there was no, what I think we're saying, sir, is that we're certainly not aware of any zoning change during that time period by the Village of Woodbury. We're not aware of any changes to the zoning code in relation to those aspects in this section since the village was formed, essentially. And it became village and not town.
Okay.
So we can certainly verify that, and we can have the building department look into that, right, Karen? But
Yeah, the
I don't
decision is
believe,
for the Village of Woodbury. And Village of Woodbury clerk signed it. It was nothing to do with Town of Woodbury. So that was all,
right,
Well,
but
I
I'm
think
saying
they
we
should
can
put this-
verify, hold on, Kevin, I
Oh,
think what I'm saying is we could verify that there have been no zoning changes with respect to this section, this zoning area in the intervening years.
right.
Counselor, if we do that, does that dictate a direction either way if we want to verify that information?
It seems to me the information should be verified. The applicant's taking the position or have stated a number of times that the code has changed. that they can research that and report it back to the board, or the board can ask the building inspector to check and confirm what his opinion is. I think you need to know the answer to that.
And I'd like to know about that 2012 variance that was given supposedly in that area for the same thing.
Yeah, we see online that a house was completed in 2012, and, you know, you look at the zoning map, all the lots in that area have at least one non-conforming feature, if not multiple.
Well, you want 4 or 5.
Well, I'm sure if we went through and surveyed the area, we would find home sites with homes on them that have a multiplicity of non-conforming features. And
Well, many of them were pre-existing non-conforming.
Most of them were
Through a
summer
variance.
homes that went with the cottage, with the main house up back
Yeah.
there.
well, obviously, many of them are pre-existing non-conforming, but this is not a hardship we created. It's not as if we're trying to build an addition onto a home or add a pool onto our house. We're taking a lot which is either going to never be put to a productive use because it's non-conforming, or we're going to put it to a productive use, build a house on it, the lot will be maintained and become, you know, in harmony with the character of the neighborhood, as opposed to a dormant lot out there that nobody maintains, is kind of out of the character of a residential area. So, it's going to go to tax sale again and again and again, as it historically has occurred. But we'd like to investigate what other variances, if any, have occurred in that community, drill down to the zoning change with respect to that, and then come back with our pencil sharpened and make our case.
If I may, Mr. Barone, there were revisions, I believe, in 2012 to the code that added the other 2 items to it. It was, as the decision, I believe somebody already spoke to this, but just to reiterate it, that when this decision went through, when Rich Cottagio and others were on the board, Rich Cottagio was the chairman, it's the Village of Woodbury that was the entity that did it. There was no Town of Woodbury zoning board that made that 2007 decision. And I'm looking at a copy of the decision right alongside of me here. So to me, and anybody correct me if you feel I'm wrong, what happened in 2012 is that they made it more stringent so that more variances came in. So it became even, I guess, a more non-conforming lot. What do you think of that, Mr. Brown?
I would agree that per the zoning changes, as I understand them, the bulk table requirements were increased, which thus necessitated our needing to seek 2 more variances. That doesn't mean we're not entitled to 2 more variances.
I didn't say that, sir. What I said was they just added more on to it.
Correct.
The original 2 things that created the original 2 variances on 100 foot of width and 100 foot of road frontage are still the same. I mean, that's the way it reads in the code now. Even when the Town of Woodbury was there, the 100 foot of width and the 100 foot of road frontage was still there. My own family went through this when we were trying to do something on our own property. So I don't see that there's any differences in this particular instance between what was required during the Town of Woodbury's time and what was required in 2007 when it was the Village of Woodbury. But still, the Village of Woodbury is what weighed in on the original decision, and the Village of Woodbury is what's doing it now. So to me, it's a moot point because it's a Village of Woodbury law, both cases, now and in 2007.
And I wasn't involved in the matter in 07, but Joe Fowl, when he brought that up, his recollection was that it was a town ZBA matter. And this is where I say it appears that we need to get our arms around the facts and ascertain what other variances, if any, have been granted in this area, and then double back to the board and have a more focused or directed discussion on whether or not we need a unanimous vote for a rehearing or not, and proceed accordingly.
Mr. Dickover, does it make any sense to, it seems to me, like Joe said, two of the variances are exactly the same as they were back in 2007. Two of them are additional, which makes it a more restrictive lot, building lot. It doesn't make any sense to me to rehear, to look at to not rehear the two that were denied, but to entertain the two new ones, because you can't have a house if you have two negatives and two positives.
And for the record, there's been no change in the two that were required or requested in 2007 till today.
Right. So I don't understand. Yes, this was a change, but as Joe said, it's more restrictive. So I don't get, I think the board needs some direction as to whether, to entertain, I feel that if we entertain, oh, there were other building lots that were granted variances, or there were, we would research this, that, or whatever, we still come down to the lot width and the frontage were exactly the same in 2007. They're exactly the same as now. They were denied in 2007. That would be a rehearing. Now, we may agree to rehear it, or we may not, I don't know. But if we didn't rehear it, would we then need to entertain the two side yards? That wouldn't make any sense.
Well, again, the applicant is entitled to have the request for the two side yards considered by the board. It doesn't make any sense.
Regardless of the lot width and frontage?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for them to do that, in my opinion, because
That was what
they
I'm
still
asking.
can't. Yeah, they still can't do the project because they don't have variances for the other two.
Right.
But regardless, they have the right to pursue that if they wish to. I think perhaps Mr. Barone is going to ask the board to table this matter so that they can research the change, the purported change in the zone, and come back to the board and put forth their case to have the matter reheard. But I don't want to speak for him.
Well, you just did, Mr. Dickover. You stole my thunder.
And does this board have to agree to that, or can this board decide to make a vote to determine if we want to rehear based on the two that were decided in 2007?
The board could call that question this evening. I think it would be a bit odd for you to do so, not giving the applicant the chance to come forth with the proof that they've asserted this evening. And I think the board should get confirmation from the building inspector that there have been no zone changes that affect this lot, other than those which make it less conforming than it was before. So my suggestion to the board would be, as I stated a moment ago, is to allow the applicant to ask that the matter be tabled, that no vote be taken this evening, whether to rehear it or not, and let them come forward with their proofs with respect to the asserted zone changes.
I agree with that.
Do we hear from anyone from the public this evening?
I personally, I would like, we have to vote first. And if we're not going to vote, we may not even be hearing this.
According to what Mr. Dickover says, we don't have to vote. We can agree to table. Is that correct?
Correct.
Correct.
And just for the record, that's what the applicant is requesting, that the matter be tabled. We can take into account what has been brought up this evening and then report back to the board accordingly.
And the public hearing has not been opened.
Correct.
So do I have a motion?
Motion.
Table this till next month till the applicant brings forth, the arguments that they have to show us.
I'll second that.
Motion to table to the next meeting.
And you seconded, Kevin?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Joe?
I vote nay.
Nay? Okay,
Joe was nay?
yes.
It's just a table, so it has no effect on the other stuff, right?
I know.
Okay, so this will be tabled till next month, and
Did everybody else say aye? Joe was the
Yes.
only one that said nay?
yes.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Thank you, folks. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Stay
You
COVID
too.
free.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you. And for those who may have been here for the public hearing, we did not open it to the public, so you'll have to wait till next month to come back and say your piece if there's anyone here for that.
Mr. Dickover, will it have to be renoticed?
I don't believe so. The matter was noticed for this evening. The matter was not open. The public hearing is being extended to the next meeting of the board. And so the notice, I think, has been sufficient.
Okay. All righty. So we move on. We have no building inspector's report, no deliberations on closed public hearings. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion for adjournment.
Anyone have a second for that?
I second Kevin's motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I want to wish everyone a great holiday season.
Yes, happy Hanukkah. Tomorrow
You
night,
guys too.
first night. Merry Christmas. See you next year.
Take care
Next
of your
year's going to
health.
be a better
Yes.
year.
Be safe.
Take care of your health, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Egan, for taking care of this evening.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Egan.
You're welcome, Karen. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.